Hey, everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. Another edition of, I guess we're going to call this Cavs Thoughts because this is a Cavs related topic. But LeBron James has opted into his player option for the 25-26 season. I think it's upwards of $50 million. A lot of people are mad about this, especially in Lakerland, because it's seemingly Rich Paul, basically, effectively, he's the agent. He's speaking for LeBron, his best friend, and his top client, obviously, over there, Clutch Sports, that they're going to evaluate and see if the Lakers are the best team, even though he's opting into money to stay with the team. And this set off a firestorm of a lot of different things. You know, Laker fans are mad. They're kind of tired of LeBron. Listen, LeBron wore me out, and I love LeBron for what he did for the city of Cleveland, and in general, the state of Ohio, really, because for what he was able to do in his 11 seasons that he was in Cleveland. And so there's naturally there's going to be a lot of speculation as to whether or not he's going to be with the Lakers, if he's going to get traded to another team, if he's trying to force his way out to go win another championship, because he's about to go do something that nobody in the league has ever done, play a 23rd season, which is just crazy to think about. Um, so Nick Pedon, or Pedon, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a personality in Cleveland, does some radio out there. He has been driving the bus for a long time, even probably predating this season, that the Cavs need to go get LeBron. And initially, when this news came out, I texted a buddy of mine texted me saying, "Hey, get ready to know LeBron for a third time." And you guys who have followed this channel know I've been pretty resistant to the idea of LeBron James coming back to Cleveland unless it was on the veterans minimum, because it would mean having to sacrifice significant assets, like whether it be Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. But considering the way the season ended with, Darius Garland being hurt, Jared Allen kind of coming up small in that series, there is a sense that there needs to be a shuffling of the deck in Cleveland. And, LeBron, if you were going to go for it in a year where the East is really, really weak, Indiana's not going to be Indiana's not going to be what they were this year, because Tyrese Halliburton is probably going to miss a majority, if not all of next season. Jason Tatum, probably the same thing. Jason Tatum might be able to come back near the tail end. But Boston's already traded away Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. So their roster is a little bit more depleted than it was in the last couple of seasons. So the Cavs now are in an interesting predicament here. Should they go for the jugular and potentially bring back LeBron James? So I got to give a shout out to at Real Cavs Fans, a really good account that really gives you a lot of insight into a lot of the intricacies of the CBA and the nuances of the CBA. So he tweeted the following earlier on Sunday. He said, since people are asking, the Cavs would need to send out a minimum of $71.3 million, which is which is because they are $18.7 million over the second apron, and they've got to match LeBron's salary, which I think we're 18.7 over, so it's like 54 and change or something, 53 and change or something we're looking at, to aggregate and afford LeBron just by himself. Even more salary would need to be cut afterwards to fill out the roster, since aggregation enacts a hard cap. So this is what people, I think, are failing to understand with the new NBA, is that with the second apron, it restricts you even further from doing things. And this is what has led to a lot more parity in the league, because it's harder to keep teams together. People may like it or dislike it, but if you're the Cavs, that basically means you're sacrificing probably at least two of these guys, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jared Allen. At least two of those guys are probably gone. And furthermore, you're probably going to have to ship Max Strus, which is probably your other, tradable piece, into some other team with cap space. That's just bare minimum what you have to do. And then beyond that, because you have a hard cap, you're going to have to figure out how to fill out the rest of your roster, because you're only bringing in one guy and you're effectively getting rid of three. So, I mean, can you guys just understand like what the hell goes on with this thing before you start fantasy booking? This isn't wrestling, okay? Like this is not professional wrestling where you can just effectively just do whatever you want. Like, and you may not like what the second apron has done, but it's created more challenges for teams to navigate things. For God's sake, the owner of the freaking Nuggets earlier this week suggested trading Nikola Jokic. In what universe would you have had that happening 10, 15, 20 years ago where they were talking about trading a superstar for financial reasons? Like, there are penalties. And I know a lot of people are saying, like, Dan Gilbert is one of the richest men in the world. He can afford it. This is one of the reasons why Ty Jerome is not coming back. Because just to sign Ty Jerome at 13, what would be what, like $13 million a year, you're paying, like, just because of the luxury tax, because the penalties are there, and then also being over the second apron, you are really hamstringing yourselves. That's why they got rid of Isaac Okoro and brought back an expiring deal in Lonzo Ball. And Lonzo Ball may actually end up being the better player out of that deal if he can stay healthy. So that's the other part of this. But listen, I'm still having a tough time really, understanding the nuances of the second apron. This is why the Giannis deal is much more challenging than people realize, among other things that you're trading within the division. The Cavs, unless there is a deal out there similar to what is going on with similar to what they did with Isaac Okoro, because Isaac Okoro's money was more than what was taken back with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's salary was slightly less. I think they saved like $1 million on the cap sheet for this year. And then potentially they could be out of the contract and it saves the money. This is just the way the restrictions in the NBA work. So yeah, it might be fun to think about bringing LeBron back and having that but also there's no guarantee that it's going to work. And then on top of it, you're basically having to sacrifice 3 players on your roster that won more games and people say, well, they flamed out in the second round. I was like, guys, the NBA looks a little bit different. You could potentially have to run this back. And even if you did it, it's not the worst thing in the world if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, because, it's one of those deals where maybe the second apron and, the way, like I theorized this after, the championship ended last week, that maybe it was a good thing that the Cavs were eliminated, because Donovan Mitchell was clearly laboring at the end of that. He could have potentially been subjected to an Achilles tear because he had a similar type calf injury to what Tyrese Halliburton was roaming around with. Jason Tatum, obviously, and obviously Damian Lillard. So the East is open. They can make some more tweaks, and like I said, the tradable piece really, I mean, there's probably 2 tradable pieces potentially that they can get out of, not really get out of, really like kind of use to potentially go get somebody else. Darius Garland, I don't foresee them trading him unless there is something out there like, say, a Kevin Durant situation where they can get first round picks back. But that also hamstrings you because then you don't have a point guard. You do have one now with Lonzo Ball, but I don't know if he's going to be your starter long term. And then, Jared Allen's an interesting prospect as well, because, he has kind of flamed out in the playoffs the last 3 seasons. You wonder if he's going to fit as like a true center who doesn't really offer you any shooting. He's really just around the rim and defense and, like, obviously short. But he is a valuable piece to this team, and they have good chemistry together. And then Max Strus is an interesting one too. He's a shooter, affordable contract. Could make some sense for somebody to go after if you want to go out and try to, tweak your roster a little bit. But in terms of the core 4, I just don't foresee them breaking this thing up. I don't. And it was a fun idea for a while to think about, hey, LeBron coming back for the 3rd and final hurrah to end his career in his 23rd season with the Cavs. Unless he decides to go back on picking up that option, which I don't even know if you can do that realistically. I don't foresee LeBron James being a Cleveland Cavalier in 2025, in 2025, 2026. I just don't see it. The Knicks could be an interesting prospect, but it's just like what it entails for the Cavs being a second apron team. They can't just ship out Darius Garland and Jared Allen and just call it a thing. Like they're gonna have to go because they have the penalty of being in the second apron. They've got to get rid of somebody else, and Max Strus would make the sense to do that, and you'd have to ship him somewhere else. And it's just there's not a lot of teams with cap space to begin with, and there's also you're faced with the issue of you're really hamstringing your roster to the point where you're just gonna have to fill out with minimum salary dudes. And I don't know if that's the way to go. I know people are like, well, this team failed getting out of the second round. Guys, it's just this is the way the NBA is. Unless you want to blow this thing up or really just hamstring yourselves to the point of you can blow the thing up. LeBron's not coming to Cleveland. He ain't rescuing this thing. We need to stop this conversation. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching here. Another edition of Cavs Thoughts. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.